It's mammoth, isn't it? Isn't it wonderfully huge?
So it's the start of a new era.
Is it?
101. Doing any of your mess ups?
Reduce the...
So no dropping yolk into egg white, for example.
I don't do that.
Starting today.
I don't do that. And then let whatever white...
And as it's the start of a new 100 episodes, I thought I'd better invent something new.
All right. Of course, you could use frozen fruits, but they do tend to go a bit mushy, I think, soft fruits. You know, I could just stick my face in it, to be quite honest, but I am not going to do that. What's that?
What is it?
Oh, it sounds really lovely.
It's the greatest invention since yodeling.
Welcome everyone to episode 101, and it's a whole new Bakery Bears era.
Oh yes, please continue.
We've got loads of cast-ons, new cast-ons this time. We've got some cast-offs. Cast-offs. That doesn't sound right, does it? No.
Not really, because it sounds like things you don't like.
Thrown away.
Yeah.
You're casting it off.
But what else have we got?
We've got the most fantabulous pudding club that you will ever taste.
In the history of the whole world?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You know, I can't even put into words how fantastic it is. I mean, if you'd have seen, if you're a patron, you would have seen Dan consume a piece on the last pop episode in about 3 seconds. It was a sight to behold.
Truly is.
Wasn't it?
Yes, yes. Because it's unbelievably delicious. Seriously, folks. Put down everything. For those of you who have been making every pudding that we've made so far, and there is a core of people who have been doing exactly that, and it's been wonderful to see your photos. This, it blows everything away that's gone before.
It's so yummy, and it's so summery as well. It's beautifully summery.
In the last Pudding Club, we introduced to you the moment when the word pudding went from being steamed things like Christmas pudding and the syrup sponge and spotted dick. We've taken you through the history of that was a pudding, but then at that moment when Winifred pudding arrived, that's the point where puddings went from being the steamed things to people calling everything a pudding.
Anything that's a dessert.
Anything that's dessert was called a pudding after that. We are now venturing into the world of much wider puddings. This is not some steamed heavy thing.
No.
Later on in this show, and I challenge all of you to do this because you will not regret it. And Kay will take you through every step. Yes, 25 minutes of hardcore Mrs. Jones action.
That sounds terrible. I can't even envisage that.
She will take you through every stage needed to create the most perfect meringue in the history of the world.
It's delicious. It really is delicious.
Crunchy
and it's
on the
not
outside.
difficult. And actually, it was only the second time I'd ever made meringue, and I couldn't believe that. It's one of those things that I just thought I'd made before. I don't know why.
And the beauty of it is it hardly needs any ingredients.
No, very few ingredients. And it's just the most perfect thing. Well, I made it first off for the royal wedding. I wanted to make a cake, and it was just the most...
Not literally.
What do you
That
mean?
sounds like...
That I gave it to them. No, I did not. No. That would have been funny, wouldn't it? By the way, everybody, I made the cake. No, I didn't. We just wanted something to have while we were watching the royal wedding. So I made that. And actually, I said at the time, this would be the most perfect summer wedding dessert because it's just light and it tastes amazing and it doesn't sit heavily on you and it just looks so pretty as well.
And that is what Kay was referring to at the start of this show. The last 100 episodes were the dress rehearsal. They were the dress rehearsal for the next 100 episodes.
That's an awfully long dress rehearsal, isn't it?
Well,
are they normally that
that's
long?
how good the show's going to be. And I don't just mean this one, I mean everyone to come over the next 100. What a 2 weeks it's been, though. My goodness. Just when we'd finished with episode 100, possibly the event of the year took place.
What was that?
Our after-show party, of course.
Oh, right.
Oh, yes.
That was fun, yeah.
Kay's already referred to that because that's the moment where I inhaled the meringue. Now, what is it called exactly? The pudding that we're making today.
The recipe is actually a strawberry meringue roulade,
right.
But I put other fruits in it, not just strawberries.
So it's a summer fruits roulade.
Summer fruits roulade, I suppose. Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
So that is coming later on in the show, but. What 2 weeks it's been, because not only did we have an after-show party, not only was there a royal wedding, which Kay just mentioned, but snuck in, where they used to be snuck in actually, that is traditionally where those films used to be released, was, you're saying, do you know what I'm talking about?
I presume I know what you're talking about.
What am I talking about?
I think you're talking about the new Star Wars film.
Oh my goodness.
We're talking about Solo.
A Star Wars story.
We've seen it, me and Dan have seen it twice now. We took Bryony to see it yesterday, so we've seen it twice. And Bryony wants to go again, and we kind of want to go again, so I think we're going to go again this week. It's just fantastic. There isn't a single weak point, I don't think.
No.
All of the acting is amazing, the characters are fantastic, the storyline is... 1 minute is this, and you're thinking this, and then you're thinking that, and it's, oh my goodness, it's that, and then someone appears that you didn't expect to appear, and there's all these meetings of characters, and how they met, and how things happened, and it's just amazing.
I've got to say...
The music... Sorry, carry on. I'll let you talk. I'm taking over.
It's all right. I've got to say, actually, it's the first Star Wars film that I've seen since Return of the Jedi, which gave me that feeling that you get. It's a feeling of positivity and excitement and expectation on what's to come, but not frustration.
No.
As to when that's going to get here. It just, like sometimes you go see a film and it's like Back to the Future 2, you were in physical pain because you needed to see the next film.
It's not like that, is it?
But that was the middle film in a trilogy, and that actually will bring us on to The Last Jedi in just a minute. The middle film in a trilogy has to be the bridge between film number 1 and film number 3. If it doesn't give you a reason to come back, then it's failed. And Back to the Future Part 2 does that perfectly. Because like I said, you are in physical pain with the letter and, needing to find Doc and all that. But Solo, A Star Wars Story, it just is that sort of perfect microcosm of a movie which gives you all the things which Star Wars always aspired to be. George Lucas wrote those films to emulate and remind himself of when he used to go to the cinema as a kid. He would go and see those serials, the black and white serials with, I can't remember the names of the fellas who used to be in it.
Buster Keaton?
No, it wasn't there. It was the guy, he was an Olympian as well, and he was like a hero in movies. Black and white, movies with, sweeping, exciting music and real sort of boys' own adventures. And that's what Solo, A Star Wars Story is. The music is phenomenal.
The music is amazing. Compare the music in this to the music in The Last Jedi, and to me there's just no comparison, I don't think.
Crumbs, I mean, well, I would agree with you in the essence of that this music feels fresh and new and exciting. And, John Williams, he's an older guy now. He's still a genius.
Oh, yeah.
But he's an older guy. So, I do have a feeling that the issues with The Last Jedi ran a lot deeper than perhaps we realised.
Oh, it wasn't just the music
because
with The Last Jedi. The whole story was wrong. It was just wrong.
If you listen to The Force Awakens, the music there is really, really good. I do really think, though, that the solo score is better even than The Force Awakens because it feels fresher.
It does feel fresh. It feels fresh and new, yet it still feels Star Warsy.
Well,
that must be an incredibly difficult thing to achieve. It's such an iconic thing, isn't it?
It feels, as Kay just said, it's new, but it feels like what it should feel like. And that's where Rogue One fell down.
Oh, Rogue One was terrible.
No, we will save this in-depth Star Wars discussion for our Star Wars podcast. But
because I know a lot of you aren't into Star Wars. So.
But I do think it's the opportune moment, probably, to say the reason. After watching The Last Jedi, my sort of Star Wars vibe took a dramatic dip.
Yeah.
And because I think that Rian Johnson got that film completely wrong. You know, to the point of, I think it's really bad. And the reason why I think it's bad is because he was disrespectful to J.J. Abrams, who had set out a superb base for a new trilogy of films. He took storylines which J.J. Abrams had clearly set up as a 3-episode arc, and he blew them away in the second episode.
Yeah.
And what Rian Johnson did was, I think it was arrogant, because he gave me no reason to go and watch the next Star Wars film.
No.
He did not think of that film.
Well, it's J.J. Abrams again, isn't it?
It is.
We're hoping that he pulls it back and, you know...
There was so many little things in Last Jedi which were insulting. For example, the whole Rey thing, talking to Poe.
Yeah.
Where Rey and... There's a scene in The Last Jedi where Rey and Poe... Hi, I'm
supposedly
I'm Rey.
meet for the
Hi,
first
I'm Poe.
time.
And it never sat right with me. And then we were watching The Force Awakens the other day, and there they were at the end of the film, stood not
in the same room,
5 feet from each other.
You know, it's the continuity. There isn't any.
There isn't any.
There isn't any continuity. And, you know, for people who are, I mean, they know that there are a lot of diehard Star Wars fans out there who know all these details. And it's in the detail, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think everything is in the detail.
It is.
And, you know, you see that and you just go, oh, and, you know, let's not even talk about the caretakers. I don't even want to acknowledge that they exist, really.
What's so cool about Solo, A Star Wars Story, is every creature, every alien looks like it should be there.
Absolutely does. Yeah, you don't look at it and think...
And the budget of that film...
What is that?
The budget of that film will have been millions less than The Last Jedi. Yeah. And The Last Jedi had a whole swathe of aliens that look like men in suits.
Yeah.
So, in summary, Solo is a Star Wars movie.
It is.
It's the first Star Wars movie that I've seen since Return of the Jedi. It's one of the best films I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The music's great, the acting's great, and it gives you the feeling which a Star Wars movie should give you.
It gives you a joyous feeling. I came out of it just feeling great. And that, you know, we've spoken about this before, haven't we? And how we want to watch things that give you that uplifting feeling. And this absolutely did. And
to sort of tie this whole conversation up in a nice little bow, I've realised something about Star Wars. And that is, I don't want to live in a world where I don't think that Han Solo and Chewbacca are flying around in the Millennium Falcon going on adventures. And, you know, The Force Awakens should take a certain amount of the blame, although I think that it was probably Harrison Ford.
It's Harrison Ford's fault.
Because he wanted to be killed off in Return of the Jedi. And as you know, I'm quite Star Wars nerdy. And I read in, you know, a number of different places that he only agreed to sign on for Force Awakens if they killed him off.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can remove that from the equation
because... It's a very selfish thing to do, I think that. He's not thinking about all the fans out there, is he really?
I do quite like the story arc. It's quite interesting going then and watching Solo, knowing how it's going to end. That's quite a cool sort of situation to be in. It's cool. Like, you know, I enjoyed that element of it. But what I've realised is this with Star Wars. As soon as Han Solo was killed off, part of my interest in Star Wars went away, because Luke's a cool character and Princess Leia's a cool character. Chewbacca's great, but Chewbacca and Han Solo together. It's the melding of characters together, isn't it? And when one of those isn't there, you can just see it just lacks that magic. Yeah. Go and see Solo, A Star Wars Story. Honestly, you will just love it. It is exceptional. Don't listen to those idiot people who are out there. There's so many people out there who are... Millions of people are refusing to go see it because they hated The Last Jedi so much. Oh, right. And they're trying to send a message to Disney. I do understand. No, I understand that, but don't let that influence you. Because we'd like to see... You're doing yourself an injustice, because you'd enjoy it. I can't imagine that anybody wouldn't enjoy that. It's a brilliant film. Yeah. Go see it. Now, here's a question. Yes. Can you... If you went into a shop and you purchased... And I know this is rare, because we wear knit socks. But let's just say you purchased some socks from Next, for example. Right. And some were blue, and some were green, and some were red. Yeah? Yeah. Could you wear A blue one and a red one? Because they would, of course, all come in pairs, wouldn't they?
I wouldn't do. No, no.
But could you wear odd knit socks?
Odd knit socks? Probably, yeah.
Because what is an interesting conversation is when you think about those socks, which I think you showed last episode, the episode before, that you knit for me with the minis.
Yeah.
They are totally unmatched.
Yeah.
But they are a pair.
Yeah.
But they're not matched.
No.
So to me, that feels the same as going into Next and buying a pair of black socks, a pair of red socks.
And putting them together. Well, some people do just wear odd socks, don't they?
But I'm with you.
I wouldn't automatically wear odd bought socks.
I'm with you all the way.
Do that.
Neither would I. My bought socks have to be the same. But isn't that interesting how with a pair of knit socks...
You could just knit, because the second sock syndrome, you could just knit single socks, couldn't you?
Wouldn't you look, though, totally bananas?
I don't think so. No,
so long as maybe the yarn base was the same.
Yarn base, well, not even that, I don't think.
So it could be a totally different base.
Well, I don't see. People are not going to look down at your socks and say, "Oh, that one looks like it's got cashmere in," but the other one doesn't, are they? Really?
I think it's more how it feels to you.
I suppose.
If you had like a summery sock, but maybe one of your feet gets hotter than the other one. I do think it's a really interesting conversation with regards to socks and how we approach knitted socks differently. It's like there is more of an emotional buy-in to knitted socks than there is to bought socks.
Well, there definitely is, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because of the amount of time and love and joy that's gone into knitting.
Yeah. It is funny though, isn't it, how, Kate, you said there that you would have to wear the same socks.
If they were bought socks, I would. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
It's exactly the same for me. And I take that one step further. Things have to be right for me.
Really? I didn't know that.
Why? What are you thinking?
Because he's neurotic. I don't know. There's something going on that is puzzling.
It's normally belt to shoes.
Belt to shoes?
Yeah. You match your belt to your shoes.
Even if you can't see the belt?
And then that brings the whole ensemble together.
Oh gosh, honestly.
No, but the reason why I brought this up was we bought some new pans the other day, and one of the lids on one of the pans doesn't line up quite right. So for you to get the holes in the right place so that it steams properly, the lid is slightly on askew, and I can't deal with it. It has to be at right angles.
Well, you've got a problem, because that's just...
Do you not? But it's the same with the socks.
I don't understand that at all. It didn't bother me. He was like showing it me, and I'm like, what am I looking at? I'm just looking at a pan lid. What is the issue? He's like, look. I'm like, what?
It's time for us to find out. Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Well, my goodness. I've got such a fun thing on my needles. I only cast this on yesterday. Gosh, I'm so glad I cast it on. And this is a sock. And this yarn is part of the yarn that I purchased in my quest to find a kind of alternative to Opal, because of the whole Opal discussion that I've had recently. And this is one of the yarns that I purchased. And
you're, of course, filming a series on this.
I am filming a series.
And the first part of that series is linked below.
And this is the first one that I've cast on. And I literally cast this on yesterday. And as soon as I started knitting it, I thought, gosh, this is lovely. Oh, it's so fun. Look at this.
It does look really nice. There's a lovely stitch definition too.
Yeah, isn't it lovely? And this, I was knitting on it yesterday thinking, where does the repeat stop? And I think I've only just reached the end of the repeat with this kind of rusty colour underneath the blue. And I think it's just started repeating back here with these kind of 2 bands of pink and then the darker pink. I think in the photo on the ball band, I think these 2 pinks here are meant to be slightly different, although to me, I mean, there might be a very slight difference. It doesn't bother me at all. I mean, I love pink, so I'm not bothered really what shade it is. But isn't it fun how that stripes up? And it's such a huge repeat, that, isn't it? I did 16 rows cuff, and then I've knit, I think, 50 rows on the leg, because I wanted to get to the end of the repeat before I started the heel. And I'd normally do 40 or 45 rows on the leg, because I don't like them particularly long. But I just thought, I'll keep going, because this is just so fun to knit. So the yarn is Comfort Sock and Wool Colour. And the colourway number, there isn't names as far as I can gather from the website, there isn't any names, but it's colourway number 218.05 is the colourway number. And this is from, there's a whole range in this particular striping sequence, if you like. There's a whole range of different colours. So I'm definitely going to order some more of this. It's actually made in Italy. The yarn is actually made in Italy for H&W, Germany. That must be the actual sort of company, I'm presuming, that manufactures, and Comfort is the brand name. And it's a German yarn, so it's a 75-25, just sort of standard superwash wool and nylon. And you get 420 metres, so it's basically just like an opal. You know, you're getting the same volume of yarn, yardage of yarn, and it's really nice. It's really nice to knit with. It's nice and woolly. It's got a nice woolly feel to it, not scratchy, just a nice woolly feel. And it's just so fun. I mean, look at the colours. And I really had no idea. There is a picture on the ball band of how it knits up. But I think it's much prettier in real life than on the ball band there. I don't think they've done it really just that much justice. But the best thing about this yarn is it cost, I think it was €5.75, so €6, let's say, which is, I did a conversion this morning, and that's just under £6 sterling, or it's about $7 US for 100 grams. And I think that's absolutely brilliant.
It looks great.
Do you know, and all I was thinking the whole time I was knitting it was how fun these stripes were. They're very random. I kind of love the randomness. You know, there's no kind of rhythm to it. You know, we've got two of the greys here. We've got quite a lot of the pink. There's no, do you know what I mean? You know, there's a lilac and a lilac either side of this grey. But I really love that kind of randomness. I think that's really fun. And I just thought to myself, this is exactly the sort of hand-dyed self-striping colour that people tend to love. Do you know, where it's a bit different to your normal self-striping? Yeah. But they can be very expensive. You know, these really beautifully dyed custom self-stripings where you've got different widths and everything. And I just thought this is such a fantastic alternative for people who don't have that kind of budget. And yet you're still getting, I think, really the same amount of enjoyment for just a fraction of the price. And, you know, you can obviously throw them in the washer, and I wouldn't worry about throwing these in the washer, whereas hand-dyed, I tend not to put in the washer, but that's just a personal choice. So I really, really love it. And you know, the yarn's been nice and consistent. It's a little bit thinner, I would say, than a plumper opal, but it's perfectly lovely.
I'm just comparing it to that opal I'm knitting with, because I'm knitting with opal, which I'm going to show you later. Oh yes, first time ever knitting with opal.
Yeah.
Is it my first time ever knitting with opal?
Opal 4-ply,
okay,
opal fingering weight.
Right,
You've knit with the thicker opals.
Right.
Yeah.
That feels really good.
It does.
I mean, I've got to say that one I'm knitting with does feel quite thin.
It's definitely not a really skinny fingering weight, but it's maybe not as plump as the older opals or some of the opals. But it's just lovely, and I'm at the point now where I'm thinking about the heel, and I'm going to do either just a contrast heel flap and gusset. So I've just got to decide what colour. I'll go through all of my solids that I've got. I've got quite a few Drops Fable solids and opal solids and some Osterman Step. I was thinking maybe a dark grey might look nice as the contrast. I want something that's not in any of the colours. I like to do a contrast heel that's a different colour to any of them in here, because sometimes the next sock might fall in such a way where you get the heel colour next to the similar sort of colour. So I prefer to keep the contrast colour a completely different colour to the actual striping in the sock. And the colours as well, I don't know if this is deliberate or if it's just happened as part of the dyeing process, but they're not completely solid. There's kind of like a tonal quality to the stripes, which again I think is amazing for, what did I say, €6? I think it's just crazy. I obviously don't know how they're going to wash and wear and things like that. And that's part of the whole process.
Yeah, the wear thing is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the whole process that I'm going through in trying these different yarns. But certainly my initial feeling about it is that it's really lovely and it's fun and I'm really, really enjoying knitting it.
Well, it's stage one of, is this a good yarn to use in future?
Yeah.
That hopefully, I mean,
it's lovely.
It feels like it's going to wear well.
Yeah, it does feel like it's going to wear well.
There's a certain rough...
It's not rough, it is just, it's got that nice woolly feel.
Yeah. Durable, I suppose,
yeah.
I don't know, I always think if I feel something and it feels quite silky, I always think that's maybe not going to wear quite so well.
Well, it depends. If it's got silk in it, then it would wear really well.
Right.
That's very
maybe it's that sort of smooth, just that general smooth silk. I can't think of another word for it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But it's really excellent and I'm really enjoying it. As far as bang for your buck goes, it's fantastic. And I got this, it's a German shop and it's Sock and Wool Paradise, something like that. But he'll link it in the show notes. And admittedly, everything's in German, but I did it. I managed to do it. And I think there is some way of translating foreign websites into your own language, but I've no idea how to do that. So I just Google translated the bits that I needed to make sure that I filled in all the boxes correctly. And it worked perfectly. And it came quickly, came by DHL. I think I had it within a week. It took about a week from Germany, maybe a little bit less. So, and they ship worldwide. Dan Jones?
Yes.
What's on your needles?
Oh, well, Kay has begun her journey into the search for a new Opal, and I have also begun a journey which I'm actually interested in, is the word. Enjoying is perhaps not the right word, but hopefully I will be able to say that the next time I show these.
But it doesn't matter if you don't.
No, I know that. But what I became more and more aware of was the fact that I am not a particularly experienced magic loop knitter. I thought that I needed to remedy that because there are times, I've seen that, used an awful lot actually with double knitting. And, there are other calls for it. For example, small stitch toy knitting.
Yeah.
It's really important for that. I remember when I was doing Mr. Bakery Bear. And there's lots of other times as well when it's needed. So it's a technique which you need to know. So I thought, I need to look at this and I need to try and get myself in a position where I can do it. I thought the best way to do that would be to knit a pair of socks. And what made total sense was to knit a pair of Hermione's Everyday socks because I'm just finishing off a pair of Hermione's Everyday with DPNs, aren't I? So I thought, why don't I knit these on Magic Loop whilst I'm finishing off my other Hermione's on DPNs and compare the whole process. So gauge, enjoyment, time it's taking me to do it, and I'm finding that side of it like super, super interesting. Initially, it was purgatory.
It wasn't enjoyable.
I absolutely hated it.
You twisted it, didn't you, at first?
I did. I had to recast on again. And if I'm honest with you, when it comes to Magic Loop and sock knitting, at the moment, I'm on the fence as to whether knitting Magic Loop compared to knitting DPNs for me works. Because the whole DPN thing, it just works. Everything works, it flows, everything makes sense. And with this, all I'm doing is knitting at the moment.
It's lovely.
Yeah. All I'm doing is knitting at the moment, and it feels like hard work. We spoke last time, I think, didn't we, about tools working. When a tool works, it just works. You don't think about it, do you? It just happens. And with Magic Loop sock knitting, I'm not convinced. I'm open to be persuaded, because what were those needles you showed me that you've spoken about so many times?
The Chowgoo mini twist.
Yes.
And you knit one row or half a row, didn't you?
And I said, my goodness, the difference between these and those is huge.
But they don't.
What are these again?
Addy lace. I think they might be sock rockets in the US.
Nothing wrong with the needles. It's just the cable.
It's the cord, yeah. But this is done a sock so far. Isn't it lovely though? I mean, it looks really lovely. And the reason that you can't use the Chowgoo is because they only go up to 2.5 millimetres. And 2.5 millimetres would just have been with your gauge, I'm sure it would have come out too small. So we want, you've got 2.75 millimeters.
Yeah.
So we had to get a different needle, and I just kind of thought when I ordered it, which one out of all the others do I not mind magic looping on? And that one I always, was okay with. But I suppose it's like anything. Once you've tried something that's amazing, to then go back to using something that you used before, you suddenly think, maybe it's not quite so amazing. The cable is nothing like the Chow Goose, unfortunately.
No. Now, what I'm doing is I'm filming a series. The whole process, first part of that series has already gone out, and we're going to go through every stage. And together with Kay's tuition, we're going to learn how to knit perfect magic loop socks.
In theory.
And so far, it is going. It's going really well.
It's lovely.
There's no ladders down the sides. Everything's. Is there?
No.
It's flowing really nicely. Absolutely no issues so far, other than what I've mentioned, and that is just the wrangling of cables and things. But I'm going into this with my eyes wide open, and that is the purpose of this whole exercise is, yes, to compare between DPNs and magic loop, but I want to get myself, by the end of this process, I want to be able to say, right, I can magic loop. I can use magic loop, so when it is called for, and it is going to be called for with me, because I put off a particular double knitting project that I was going to do, because to do it right, you needed to really be able to magic loop reasonably well. And I'm not good enough. And it's so interesting, really, because it does all come down to, there's a difference, and I think it's profound, between sitting and doing something and sitting and really doing something. You can sit and go through the motions and finish with something and it be done. And every time I've magic looped before, that's what I've been doing. I've never been sat there thinking, right, I'm gonna nail this, so that when I need to get it out of my bag of tricks next time, I can do it without thinking about it. So that's the purpose of this process. So really, no matter what happens through it, no matter how much I like or dislike knitting these socks, at the end of the journey, I'll be a better magic loop knitter and winner, because that's what I'm after.
It's really nice yarn, though. Doesn't that look pretty?
The yarn is nice, actually. This is definitely the older.
Yeah, it's an Opal, and it's from the Popcorn range, which I think is an older one. Slightly older.
Should we just compare it to your other sock one? Because, just looking there is some bounce in that.
Yeah, I think
there's a nice amount of bounce in that, actually.
I drive myself mad with this. Just in case you didn't realise, I do overanalyse things and overthink things.
But no, there's not.
See, there's not as much bounce in this one as in the Opal.
No, but this is an old Opal.
It's an older Opal.
Yeah.
It's not super old, but it's definitely not one of the new ones.
No.
So it's Opal Popcorn, and it's colourway number 9102. Lottie and Han. Hans. Huh? Han or Hans, however you say it. We would say Han. Lovely.
There it is, serving a great purpose for me at the moment. Thinnest yarn I've ever knit with.
Yeah, and they look like they're going to fit perfectly, because your gauge is nice, for Dan it's nice and tight. So it's coming out, it looks like perfect size.
And, as we mentioned last time, I'd had some issues with my gauge, but it's just, you've just got to focus your mind on the job in hand. And I spoke actually at length in Journey to the Centre of the Yoke last week about gauge, and about how it is one of those things which historically I haven't thought about. I've just sat down and got on with it.
Yeah.
But actually, as you do regularly, dependent on the job that you're attacking, that dictates to you the gauge at which you knit at.
Oh, well, I used a smaller needle, so it was a tighter gauge. I didn't knit tighter.
No.
It just naturally was tighter because my needle size was small.
Yeah, my point is, you do what you need to do to get the gauge right for the projects in hand.
Yeah.
For example, if I sat and knit colour work with that gauge, it would look like the Susan B. Anderson hat I knit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would suck.
So the point I'm making is, and I've never thought like this before, I've always just sat down and got on with it. I've never considered gauge as being part of the process. How naive is that? You know, it's the fabric at the end of the day. It's probably the most important thing. At the end of it, is having it with the right gauge.
Yeah, because it dictates, if it's a garment, it dictates whether it's even going to fit you.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? And if it's too loose, it can look sloppy and, yeah.
So a big learning point for me over the last 2 to 3 months is I've got to think about my gauge. Really lovely socks.
This is working really well. It looks lovely.
Yeah.
I'd like to finish those quickly because I'd like to wear those.
And it's very interesting knitting the Hermione's every day with a variegated yarn. Because the other sock...
Though.
Yeah.
It works with... I think Hermione's Everyday works with any yarn at all.
It does. The other sock is obviously self-striping, so you can see the pattern a lot more. This isn't, but...
You can still see it. It's self-patterning. You can still see where it's happening, though.
You can. You absolutely can. Especially if you look at it like that.
Yeah.
You know,
it's brilliant. And I think
it's such a lovely fabric.
The best thing about patterns like Hermione's is that it motivates me to, you know, you just think, rather than saying, I'll just do another row, you'll say, I'll do another repeat, which means 4 more rows instead of 1. So I think it pushes you on. If I've got a pattern that's very simple, you know, like this one, it really, really helps me with the progression. I find that they knit up much quicker than a plain sock.
I'll tell you now what motivates me.
A clicker.
My goodness. You know, I never would have anticipated that just knowing where I was in a project would inspire me. And I'll tell you why it inspires me. Because you think,
do you have to use a clicker when you're knitting Hermione's?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I wouldn't have to, but I don't want to have to do the maths to know where I am in the sock.
No.
I want to. If I've got a tool which is going to tell me where I'm at in
even though it says 18
that's
on a 4-row
for a whole
repeat.
Other story. What?
It's a 4-row repeat. Why is it on 18? Wouldn't you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4?
How am I going to know how far down the sock I am?
You just count the repeats.
But this is telling me that I've done 18.
But then you have to divide it by 4 all the time.
But that's fine.
All right, okay. That would bug me.
That takes but a moment.
Well, I know, but it would bug me because I have to think about that too much. I'm like, I've got to divide that by
hilarious.
4. Well, sometimes when you're tired and it's night time, dividing by 4 is a tricky business.
Oh, no. So, yeah, a clicker has been the greatest sort of mental change in the way that I knit.
Guess what?
What?
I'm going to order you a new clicker that I saw on a podcast this morning.
I don't want it to be big, though.
It's not massive.
Otherwise, that present will be a fail.
That was so funny.
I got you a present. It's a golden unicycle.
I don't like that gift. That gift is a fail. You probably have no idea what we're talking about, but it was hilariously funny.
I'll put a link in the show notes. It's for bad lip reading for the royal wedding.
It's really so funny.
It's really
funny. It's not rude or anything
no,
like that.
No.
It's just really funny. I saw it on a podcast this morning. A new type of clicker, and it wasn't designed for knitters specifically.
It's not digital, is it?
No, I think it was designed for. Do you know when they're clicking people into clubs?
Oh right. Oh yeah.
So the numbers, it goes up to like 1,000.
Ooh!
I know.
Yes.
And I thought about you. I thought, you'll really enjoy that.
Well,
And it wasn't very big. It was bigger than that. It was from Wild and Woolly. I'm going to look. I literally saw it on a podcast this morning. Someone had got one.
There was a moment.
And it was pink.
There's a moment recently where...
You needed thousands.
No, I needed hundreds.
Oh, right. Well, this goes up. There's
and
like 4 numbers.
What am I going to do about that? I can't remember what it was.
It just made me think, gosh, you'd have such fun with that. So I'm going to order us one each.
Yeah, what can I use the other
If they're still there, I'm going to have a look on the website.
That'll be cool. So there's my sock. Great fun. What else is on your needles? Well,
I am working away still on my arrow cowl, and... in theory, I would have had this done. I honestly would have. However, I'm on to the lace section at the top, and we've both got colds, you can probably tell at the moment, and my brain couldn't function with the lace. I was having to concentrate so much. I've knit a little bit of the lace. Do you know when your brain just feels so foggy? And I've managed 1 repeat of the lace, and then I thought, do you know what, I don't want to risk messing this lace up. But I'm really not that far off finishing. Look how much I've done. Looky. Look how nice it looks. You can really see that arrow now, can't you, in the middle? Oh, it looks amazing on screen, actually. I'm really pleased with that. So I'm up at the top now doing the lace again. I'm just repeating this same lace, but in the purple. And I've done 1 repeat. So I've got 2 more repeats to go. And then just those 4 rows of twisted, you know, knit 1, purl 1. And it'll be done. So, you know, I was working on this a few days ago and I thought, oh, I'll get this finished. And then this cold hit and I thought, oh, do you know what? I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to wait until my head clears and then I can get this finished. And I'll do this in a day, I'm sure. I mean, if you think I've got like that much to go, which is, it's not a lot really, is it? I think it's maybe, 16 rows and then 4 rows of rib. But I've really enjoyed this. And the mosaic knitting in the middle was really, really simple. If you've never done it before, I would just say, you know, and you fancy having a go, then this pattern is great because there's just a little bit. So it just gives you that taster of having a go at it without it being overwhelming if you find that it's not really your thing. Although I don't see how it wouldn't be because it's just slips and knits and purls. Not difficult at all, and it does produce a really nice effect. I think it's really pretty. So yeah, that's the Arrow Cowl by Lisa Haynes. And my 2 yarns, again, there's Malabrigo Sock in Abril. And then this is Whimsy, it's from whimsy.co.uk, and this is Prairie Dusk. And I've finished with this colour now, and I've got all this left. There must be 50 grams there. So I could actually knit a pair of socks if I use contrast cuff seals and toes. I might do that, or I might just save it for, you know, another project maybe that needs 50 grams of a contrast, because I really liked using this because it's not a solid colour. I really like how you get in the stripes, you know, and you can probably tell more in the lace. Can you see the different tones? It goes from like greys to lavenders to like a peachy colour. Really nice. So a very relaxing, satisfying knit. It would make a perfect holiday project, this, because I think it's just the right size that you could probably complete it, you know, on a week's holiday. You could easily complete this. You could just take this and a pair of socks and that'd be all that you needed for that week's holiday. Not that any of us ever take just 2 projects. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about summer holidays and thinking, do you know what? I'm going to be minimal this time and just take maybe a couple of things. But then that panicked me and I'm like, well, what if I wanted to work on something else and I'm on holiday and there's no yarn shops nearby? And so I'm sure I won't only take 2 things. So a lovely, lovely knit, and I'm sure I'll have that done for next time.
I should hope so too.
Yes.
I think it's a disgrace
that I haven't finished it. I know. Yeah. What else are you knitting, Dan Jones?
Cool. Thanks for asking. It's very polite. It's this. It's the Solja by Anna Maltz. It's my journey to the centre of the yoke, because there is a yoke at the top of this jumper which I'm going to knit with lots of lovely flowers on. But at the moment I'm knitting all these flowers, and these are lace flowers. Oh. And I have to say, I do enjoy knitting lace.
Look at that.
I find it very rhythmic and I find it very relaxing.
I hope that block's flat.
You have to concentrate, yeah.
That's nice. I mean, look at it at the moment. This is the problem with corrugated ribbon, isn't it? It curls. And I don't think it would make a difference if you'd knit it longer. I think it would still curl at the bottom.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I'm really going to block it. You know, I'm going to pin it. I'll wet block it, obviously, and I'll pin it and just hope that it...
See, the thing is that when it's fully jumperified, there'll be a lot of weight at the top.
There will.
So it'll probably, when it's on, I don't think it would be noticeable when it's on.
No, but it would bug me if it curls up. But
great.
You know, hopefully it won't.
That would bug Kay, and pans not lining up bugs me.
Really, life's too short, isn't it, to worry about that?
Yes, or hems riding up. Maybe that's why they call it a hem. Because it is acting.
Is that a hem?
That's what it's called on the pattern.
Oh, right. You see, I think of a hem as like on a dress.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think of it as on a jumper. I would call it the ribbing, I suppose.
Well, yeah, and it is ribbing. It's corrugated ribbing.
I know, I just don't know that I would call it.
But it doesn't
I've not thought about that before.
I mean, it does act like ribbing because, as we said before, surprisingly, there is some stretch in there. And you wouldn't expect it looking at the way that it knits up. You really wouldn't at all. I don't know how there is so much stretch in that. It's amazing. It's sort of like normal ribbing, which is great. It is, it is
quite neat. It is nice and stretchy. And there's floats. So you've obviously got your floats exactly right on that.
Well, would you believe it?
Yeah.
I've knit 2 repeats now of the lace pattern, and I do have to concentrate when I'm doing it. I really do. But that's fine. I like that.
Is there quite a lot of rest rows in it, or is it a lot of... Is there not? Is there any rest rows?
Yeah.
Right.
There's a rest row every other lace row.
Oh, right, okay. So that's okay. So every other row is just plain knit?
Yes. Yeah. There is also... There's 3 rows of plain knit at the start of the repeat.
Right.
So there's 3 rows plain knit at the start of the repeat, a rest row every other row of lace.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the repeat.
That's pretty good then.
So I mean, it might be 50-50.
Right.
Or slightly more weighted towards the lace. I'm not sure. Yarn is Drops Charisma.
Drops Charisma.
Yes, I got it right. And for the first time ever, I split-spliced the superwash. And it's split-spliced lovely. That sounds bad. Does it sound bad? Can I call it split-splicing? Or should I really call it
wet splicing? Really, I think is what it's known as.
Well, that's funny though, isn't it? Because someone said, we did, I can't remember where it was. I think it was on my last episode of Journey to the Centre of the Yoke, and I referenced wet splicing. And someone said, oh, it makes me think of spitting on the yarn.
Well, that's actually what...
That is what you do.
Yeah. Although I don't literally spit on it. But
No,
I think actually, as I understand it, it does splice better if you do that. Something to do with the enzymes, I'm not sure. Or you can use water.
Yes,
of
you
course.
can use a little pot, which is what you do in your tutorial.
Yeah.
But when Kay or I do it for real, then just chop it up, straight in the mouth, away you go. And it is a real sort of, you feel like you're vandalising your knitting. It's very strange to sort of go at the yarn and like be chopping bits off it and stuff.
It is lovely.
But you then, was it okay genuinely, or you just?
Do you want me to tell you that you've made a mistake or not?
I know I've made a mistake.
Oh, do you know that?
Which bit?
There. This one's not right.
Yeah.
You know that?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
But that's okay.
Okay.
Well, it looks alright, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Does it look alright?
Yeah, it looks okay.
What's the problem?
Well, nothing. If you can live with it, that's fine. I would have had to have sorted that out, but it's fine. It won't be noticeable. One of his lace rows is just off, but, it's fine.
I can't even notice it. A jumper sort of naturally...
It's down at the bottom, so it's fine, yeah. But I was just telling you, that's all.
Well, no, I know.
Right.
I know that.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, I'm really enjoying knitting it. I really have to concentrate, but as I say, that's really what I enjoy anyway. So, it fits exactly what I'm looking for in a jumper. I didn't want to have to knit through a whole load of just round and round and round we go. Much, much happier, with a bit of interest. And, there really is with this one. Really like, so far, how the pattern's been written. I find it very straightforward, very clear. So, yeah, I really couldn't recommend it enough. And you can join me every month for an episode of Return of Journey to the Centre of the Yoke. as Return to the Centre of the Yoke. Of Journey to the Centre of the Yoke every month as I knit through this, and all the battles that I face with regards to gauge and knitting and all that. So yeah, it's cool.
And it's the Drops Charisma, we did say that, but it's this one, and it's Superwash DK. Although we are split splicing it, as Dan said, and that the main body colour is the mustard. It's really pretty golden, rich colour. It's beautiful.
Cool. What else is on your needles?
Well, the last little project I've got today is something totally silly and frivolous, and but sometimes you just have to do that, don't you? I think you don't always have to knit what's kind of expected or what's popular or what seems like a sensible knitting project. So I'm actually knitting a Christmas present for Goffy. Not everybody will know who Goffy is, but Goffy is Bryony's very precious giraffe. She's actually got several Goffys. There's an original Goffy, And then there's a Goffy 2 that I found on eBay a few years ago that looks exactly like Goffy 1. So I thought it might just be nice for Goffy to have a special blanket for Christmas. So I spoke to Bryony about it and she decided what she wanted. So I've started it and it's the cutest thing ever. Look, I'm knitting a teeny tiny mitred square blanket.
Wow.
And these are, how many stitches did I cast on? I wrote it down because I thought I'll not remember. 21. I used 21 stitches and I'm using 2.5mm, just some DPNs. And it takes about 10 minutes to knit a little square, which I think is just brilliant. It's just very satisfying to knit these little tiny squares. How cute are they? And so far I think a lot of these are my hand dyed. That one's figgy pudding. I will be doing some figgy pudding in July actually. I'm going to do a Christmas in July thing and I'm going to dye up a batch of figgy pudding because I know that was very popular at the back end of last year. So a lot of these are my hand dyed. So I've done 8 little squares across, but what I'm then going to do when this is sort of to a rectangle, I'm going to border it with like a log cabin border. And I think for the colour of the border, Bryony decided she wanted me to dye up some of the Goffy colourway, which is like, it's on a neutral base, but it's just got lots of speckles of the colour of Goffy, which is like a sort of limey green and a goldeny sort of yellow. So I think that's what I'll do. I think I'll do the border in the Goffy colourway. So it's just fun, you know, and I've been weaving in my ends as I go. These ones here, the ends are woven in. So when I finish a few squares, I go back and weave in those ends, which is no bother really. I don't mind doing that. It's just super fun. And I know that there are a few people who are doing these teeny squared blankets, and I think it originally was inspired by Nicole, the gentle knitter. She's knitting one. And then I saw Jules, So Sweet Violet, is doing like a little mini version of a big mitre square blanket. So I think a few people now are doing these teeny tiny squares. And it is just fun and it's just a silly little project, but it's just the kind of thing that I like to think that in years to come, you know, when Bryony's grown up and she'll still have Goffy. I can't imagine she'll ever part with her, but it might be that she wants to pass Goffy on to her child and, you know, she'll have these little special things to go with her. You know, she'll say, oh, you know, my mum made this for Goffy and now you can play with it. So I think that's really nice, isn't it? So I've just been picking this up whenever I've got 10 minutes spare. I'll just add another square on, and as long as I finish it by Christmas, you know, there's no great rush. And I'll take this on holiday with us as well. It'll definitely be a really cute thing to knit on holiday. So, you know, if you've got a child or a grandchild that's got a special doll or teddy or whatever, I think it's just a nice thing to do, you know. And if they like playing with things like this, I know some children are not really that bothered. And I kind of encourage that because it doesn't last long, does it, being a child? And before we know it, she's going to be a teenager, and who knows really when she'll move on from that, and it'll be a sad thing. So yeah, little blanket.
Cool.
Super cute.
So I have finished one of these already, but as part of my plan to nail colourwork, I decided what I can't do is I can't knit through the body of the Solja, which is all lace, and then get to colourwork and expect to suddenly be able to do it. It's taken me, obviously, 2 hats to get to the point where I'm at right now. Did the split back snowflake hat first of all, learnt lots from that, and then moved on to the hat which I'm going to show you later, and finished knitting that hat. And I thought, yes, I could knit something completely new now, but then I actually thought the focus needs to be on the technique and getting it right and making it look lovely, not having to learn a whole new pattern. So I thought I should just do the same one again. So that's what I'm doing. It's going to be the 4th, is it, of your platinum patterns, which will come out.
I'm talking about them actually in finished objects.
Oh, okay. So it'll come out later on this year. And at the moment, it's just really boring because all it is just ribbing. But it's going to be the Mon Ami Hat, and I'm going to show you what it's going to look like in What's Off Your Needle, so you'll see it later. But the yarn is, of course, Drops Alaska.
Yes.
Yes. It's for a boy this time.
Yeah.
So it's a nice dark colour, and also the diamond. Well, not diamond. They're like trees. They're like
triangles.
Triangles. They look like Christmas trees.
They do a bit, but that's not the intention.
You could put baubles on.
Well, you could.
Ooh.
Oh, you could actually. Yeah, you could put a bead. Yeah, you could. That's not what they're meant to look like, but they do unintentionally.
So, and actually, this green.
It's going to look like trees. Well,
how funny
that's just the yarn that we happen to have.
That's so funny. So, those are the yarns.
Yeah, the dark grey, which is colour 5. And then the green is the green that I knit your vest in.
Yes.
Which I think is light olive, it's called.
Yes. And
just the drops Alaska, which is brilliant. And I love this grey actually. It's got lots of. Can you see? Look at that. Can you see how flecked and it is? It's just got lots of little flecks of lighter colouring. It's really lovely. If you like grey, I think you'd love this.
There is another reason why I cast this on again, and I only sort of realised it when I finished it, and that's because I had the whole Bankhead speargrass feels going on. Oh yes,
you did. You enjoyed it, didn't you?
Seriously, yeah. It's like the perfect hat pattern for me has enough interest for it not to be boring, but enough sort of boring for it not to be so complex that it's like really complex lace knitting where you've got to really be on your game. It's that sort of perfect balance knitting for me. And also the finished project, as you're going to see, it looks so great. So that was the other reason why I had to recast another one on. And I always think that's so exciting when you get that moment. It's a bit like when you go to the cinema and you see a film and you think, I've got to come see this again. You know, so it's like my solo a Star Wars story project. Because, you know, it is just the business. It's really, really good fun to knit. So that's the other reason why I recast straight on, literally within a day. It's really funny. I cast it off and I thought, right, moving on now, onwards and upwards. Put the needles away, got rid of the bag, you know, and then 24 hours later, where are the needles, where's the bag?
Yeah.
Got to do another one. Should have just left it out, shouldn't I?
And the yarn actually matches your bag too.
Matches my shorts.
No.
Oh, yes.
It's quite cute. I like that when that happens.
Yes, I know. Yes, me too, actually. Matching, you know, when you talk about matching shoes to belts, you've got to match your yarn to your bag. But, you know, I've spoken about this before, and I wrote an article in Knitability all about this, how I really do have bags that you have to have certain projects in. They sort of work for certain projects. And, you know, sometimes it's projects that I'm enjoying loads. Sometimes it's specific sort of genres, say hat bags and all that type of thing. I bet lots of people, most people do it via size?
Yeah, possibly. Dictate. I mean, I'm very emotional about it as well, and I always have certain bags. For example, like this bag. I always have something in this bag. It's one of my absolute favourites, and this is from my friend Sasha, and she makes the best bags of anybody, any bags I've ever had. Her workmanship is just absolutely beautiful, and this is the most perfect size for socks or another small project. So I always have something in this one, and I just always have, like, you know, I have favourite bags because they mean something to me.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I'm very sentimental like that.
That always worries me.
Finding a random stitch marker. Has that come off your hat? No, it hasn't.
No. My theory is
it'll just be in the bottom of the bag.
It's popped out. Yeah.
You have a habit of just throwing things in.
No, it's not a habit. It's there ready, waiting.
Is it?
Yes.
Right.
Because historically, I'm always like searching for stitch markers in Kay's Notions pouch. You have much nicer stitch markers than I do.
I do.
That's like a plain plastic ring.
Yeah, I know. They're okay though.
It does the job.
You're a boy. You don't want pretty fancy stitch markers, do you? Oh, all right then. Well, I will give you a beaded dangly stitch marker next time.
Now, someone asked you a question about lace and about how you stop lace yarn overs floating to the wrong side
of your stitch marker.
As many of you will probably know, but some of you might not know, if you use a stitch marker. Where's it gone? There it is. If you use a stitch marker like this with a bead on, and you just wrap the yarn over around the back of the bead, it always keeps you right.
Yeah, it usually stops it from jumping.
It has done every time for me, which is great.
Yeah, so it's the plain circles, but the ones with a bead on. They're very good.
Wrap the yarn around the back of the bead and it just works. And I don't know how we discovered that. It was when I was knitting the speargrass.
Just an accidental discovery.
Yeah.
Or maybe you asked me and I said I always use the ones with beads on. And
I was having a slippage issue where it was flicking around the other side. And when you're a novice lace knitter like I am, it blows your mind. Where's it gone? Where's my stitch?
And then it throws you off, doesn't it? Because the yarn over's on the wrong side.
Yeah. Folks, it's time for the best pudding club in the history of the world. Yes, you and Kay are going to tackle Meringue. And do you know what? You're going to win. You will be victorious.
You will.
Let's go and enjoy making our summer fruits meringue roulade.
Excellently put forward, that.
Let's go.
I think it's been way too long since we did some baking.
We want to share with you some of the tastes of our childhood. These were the dishes that were served to us by our mums and our grandmas.
We know our favourites, but we would love to know yours.
So we're going to bake all of our favourite puddings. And at the end of the series, you can vote for your favourite.
This year, why don't you join me for the Bakery Bears Pudding Club? So come on, let's get baking.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we tackle the nemesis of so many chefs. Yes, together we're going to make a meringue roulade. Now, it's difficult to pinpoint exactly when meringue was invented, but what we know is this. It first appeared in print in France in 1692. Celebrity chef and cook to French royalty Francois Massielot was the man who introduced the world to this wonderful confection. He worked here at the Palace of Versailles, and there's no doubt he will have made it for King Louis of France. But he didn't invent the dish. Two earlier 17th century English manuscript books of recipes give instructions for confections that are recognisable as meringue. They were called white biscuit bread, and they appeared in the book of handwritten recipes started in 1604, written by Lady Eleanor Poole Fettyplace. Another book by Lady Rachel Fane listed them as pets. And in France, slowly baked meringues are still referred to like this due to their light and fluffy texture. What I know for certain is they are delicious and I want to eat some. So let's get baking. Okay, so what are our baking notions that we're going to need for this lovely recipe? Not a lot, you'll be pleased to know. We're just going to need a bowl to do some whisking. We're going to need a tray. You can buy them and they're called Swiss roll trays. This one is just a normal baking tray that's about an inch or so deep, but it might be sold as a Swiss roll tray. And the size of it, in the recipe it specifies that you want a size 23 by 33 centimetres. Mine's a little bit bigger than that, but it worked out absolutely fine. So if it's there or thereabouts, you should be good. And what I've done with this is I've just put a small amount of sunflower oil all over the base of the tray, and then I've lined it with some baking parchment. So that's all ready. And then you're just going to need a whisk of some sort. Mine's a handheld, but you can use whatever type of whisk that you want to use. And over now to the ingredients. And again, we don't need a whole lot, so this is fantastic. We're going to need some double cream, or you can use whipping cream. Either of those work perfectly well. And I think in the States this might be called heavy cream, but double cream is what we know it as here. It's the slightly thicker one. Some caster sugar, which again in America is called something else, but it's the very fine white sugar. We're going to need 4 eggs, 4 egg whites, but obviously you need the whole eggs to get the whites. And then we're going to need some fresh fruit. Now the recipe just calls for strawberries, but I'm using strawberries, raspberries and some blueberries as well. And you're going to need about 250 grams of fruit. When I've made it before, I did use that amount, but I felt like it could use a bit more, so I've got about 300 grams there. The only thing I add extra to the recipe is when I whip the cream, I mean I'll show you at that stage, I just add in a little bit of vanilla paste, because I do feel like that kind of lifts the whole thing a little bit, just having that touch of vanilla.
So that's all of our ingredients, and we're all ready now to start making our lovely roulade, so let's get cracking.
Okay, the first thing that you need to do is separate off your egg whites. I've done that into a separate little bowl here. Don't do it directly into the bowl that you're going to be whisking in, just in case you drop any shell in there, or you know, you do get a bit of yolk. You've really got to try and not get any yolk in with your egg whites. If you do get yolk in there, it will affect how well they whip up. So you do have to really keep it yolk free. There's loads of different ways that you can separate off your whites to your yolks. All that I do is I just break the egg in half and then sort of just let as much white come out of one half as will naturally come out, and then I just pour the yolk into the other half and let the rest drip out. Always works out for me, touch wood. So what we need to do then is pop it into the bowl we're going to whisk it in. Now make sure that your bowl is completely clean. Give it a nice clean with some washing up liquid, get rid of any grease that might be in there. And as a final sort of little check, just to make sure we've got no grease in there at all, what you can do is just get a bit of lemon and just rub it all over your bowl. And that will just eliminate any tiny little bits of grease that we've got in there, because again that can affect how well your meringue turns out. There we go. So now we can just pop our whites in, and then we're going to whisk up the whites until they are at the soft peak stage. Just takes a few minutes. Okay, you can see now it's at that stage where if you lift up your beaters, if you're using beaters, you get little peaks in the meringue. So that's the stage we want to be at. And now we're going to add the sugar. Now we need to just do this a little bit at a time, so about a tablespoon at a time, whisk it in, keep doing that until it's all been whisked in. Okay, so that's all of the sugar in, and you can see now you can put the bowl over the head thing, which I'm not going to do, but you end up with this beautiful, thick, shiny, glossy meringue. Really, you know, I could just stick my face in it, to be quite honest, but I am not going to do that. So now all we need to do, get a spoon and go over to your tray. You will have preheated your oven to about 180 degrees C, so that's all ready. And we're just going to put all of the meringue into the tray. Oh, it's so nice, look at it. Oh. This actually is only the second time I've ever made meringue. When I made it, this exact recipe last week, it just suddenly dawned on me that I'd never made a meringue before, and I couldn't believe that. I think it's one of those things that people think is quite a scary thing to make, but it's so simple. I mean, it's literally 2 ingredients, and I think as long as you add that sugar gradually, I think the mistake you can make is if you add it all in one sort of lump, it just doesn't form quite correctly. So just add your sugar in gradually and you won't have a problem. So what we do now is we're just going to spread it all out. It kind of looks like there's not going to be enough, but there is. It really puffs up because it's obviously just egg whites. And that's in any recipe, it's the eggs that give the lift, mainly in cakes. It's such a lovely substance to work with. So push it all to the edges and then just try and get it as flat as you can. So that's it sort of all spread out. Now just sort of work your spoon around. Use a palette knife if you wanted to. And just flatten off the edges and then just sort of smooth over the surface. So we now just need to pop that into the preheated oven that's at 180 degrees C for 8 minutes. Now I put a timer on because that will go by quite quickly. After it's had its 8 minutes, turn the oven down to 140 degrees C and give it another 10 minutes. And again, I'd set your timer. And after that 10 minutes then, if you have a look at it, it should be sort of a light golden colour on top and be quite firm to the touch, and then it'll be ready. So I'll pop it in the oven and I'll see you back when we take it out.
Wow! How exciting! Will it turn out okay? Will the meringue burn? And how on earth do we roll it? All these things we will find out later on in the show. But don't panic, because you are in the very safe and warm hands of Mrs. Jones. They are warm. They're always warm.
They're not always warm. My hands are usually cold.
Not compared to mine.
Well, yours were never cold. They are now. But
I am Mr. Poor Circulation Man.
you were never like that. We think it's a post-chemo thing.
It is.
It must be, you know, because he'd never had it before. His hands quite often get freezing cold.
I have to... the funny thing is, they don't feel cold to me. It's only when I touch something.
They're like ice.
So I wear, when I go running now, even really in the summer, unless it's a really warm, humid day, I always wear gloves. And that, you know, that keeps me right. And actually, that's resulted in less chafed hands.
Yeah.
It's weird that. So the circulation affects...
I think the circulation is something to do with why your hands have been getting so dry.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
Because they haven't been so cold, because I haven't been going out running without... Since I got those new gloves.
Yeah.
I got these new gloves, which you can wear in all seasons, really. I was getting, like, split, horrible skin, wasn't I, between my fingers and all sorts. And it's gone. It's lovely. Folks, don't panic. Later on in the show, we will finish off that meringue, and then you will eat it. You will inhale it like I did.
You will not inhale it like he did.
The beauty of this that you're making right now is you can eat copious amounts of it and it will not make you feel sick.
That's not the idea.
But it is the truth. So this is a pudding which you can gorge yourself on and still feel fine afterwards.
Well, I don't know about that.
I did. And I have the most delicate stomach.
Well, that's true.
Of anybody.
Yeah, you did have a massive, the most enormous piece ever.
I had many enormous...
Oh, that little bird was drinking from the water.
I had many enormous pieces.
You did.
As will you.
And I was pretty good. I think I had one.
5.
In fact, I didn't have a piece on my birthday. I didn't have any cake on my birthday.
Because you'd ever done it the day before, hadn't you?
No, it was lunch, wasn't it? Lunch on my birthday.
Had a bad lunch.
Disagreed with me, but hey ho.
Look, I want to find out, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
I do have...
Nice sock. What design is that?
Well, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
I do have 2 things. The first thing is I finished the Sirius socks.
What's the pattern?
This is the prairie socks.
They're excellent.
This is my pattern, the prairie socks pattern.
They're most excellent.
They're lovely, aren't they? And this is in, again, my hand-dyed, and this is in the Sirius colourway. And the coordinating colour is Hogwarts at Dusk. And I have done a few sets of these for the shop. I will be doing some more. So I will be putting some more of those in the shop. And it's, you know, I really enjoyed knitting these. And I love this colourway. It's one of my favourites. I've said this before, but anybody who's got a skein, you know, you'll be able to see that there are lots of specks of this same dusky purple. And then there's like a olivey sort of green speck in there, as well as the sort of grey and black. It's just a lovely, lovely sort of interesting neutral, I would call it. And, quite often for socks that have got a little bit of something going on, you want something that's not completely plain, but isn't completely crazy variegated either. And this works really well, I think. It would be lovely for a ribbed sock, or, prairie socks, a drippity drop, it would be really nice. Or any other sock, Hermione's everyday, it would be great. Anything that's got a little bit of texture going on, but not too much. So there we go. That's one pair of finished socks. And I use the toe from my drippity drop pattern, which is the umbrella toe, which is the only one that I do now. And I still absolutely love it. It's wearing brilliantly well in socks. And, it's been so great because so many people have said to me that they really like this toe. And I think that's really, it's really satisfying as a designer. It's just very satisfying when people say that they really enjoy your patterns, and especially, this toe, people have really loved it and said that, they'll now put that toe into every sock that they knit because it fits so well and it's really nice to knit. So that's brilliant, and thank you for people that give me that kind of feedback. It's really lovely. So that's my first finished objects, and I don't know whether I might give these to Bryony. I tend to always give her socks that I finished just lately, but I do have a lot of socks. And actually I counted hers recently because we were in her bedroom one morning. She's had this cold and she had a nosebleed because she'd been blowing her nose so hard. So we were in a bedroom and we were taking care of that, and I was just sat on the floor and I tidied all her socks up. And she's got 22 pairs of hand knit socks.
That's good.
Which I think is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's always nice to add another pair, so I think they will go to her.
So as I'm knitting right here, this is what I showed you in What's on My Needles. It's the rib for my new Mon Ami hat, and here's my finished one.
Mon Ami.
Woohoo! Yes.
Oh, it looks lovely. Look how nice it looks.
And I learnt so much playing through this. Down here, puckered, not so great. And then getting further up to the top.
It looks really great at the top.
Gets an awful lot flatter. And I've got to say, Kate, I adjusted my technique up here.
Right, okay.
And that's where it's gone flat.
Yeah.
And it's the adjustment in technique that I made there that I have readjusted to get that sock tension back right again.
Right.
And all I've done is just not pulled on the yarn after I've done the stitch.
Ah, yeah.
So, I think that that doesn't need an adjustment for me in tulle, because if I can get that by using this size of needles and by just stopping myself tensioning the yarn after knitting it, then job done. But as we looked at on those socks, and also I find on ribbing on hats, I find that my tight tension is good. It's beneficial for things like ribbon and socks, and those types of things. It's a nice dense fabric. Whereas here, I'm so happy actually.
Yeah, this has been blocked and everything, but
just that last repeat.
Oh, that's the back when I was showing you the jog, which is not very attractive.
Just that last repeat.
Yeah.
Actually looks right.
I think it's lovely. And this design was based on, if you've seen Murder on the Orient Express, the new one with Kenneth Branagh as Poirot, on the train, they walk through, there's several of them actually, there's some glass doors, and etched on the glass doors is this kind of design here, these triangles.
Very of the time, that.
Very of the time, yeah, very sort of 1920s, 1930s. Yeah. And I just thought, I want to put that into a hat. So I charted it out, and then I added in the top and the bottom, which when you hold it that way looks like little train tracks. So that kind of pulled it all together. And I liked the crown decreases I did in this. I saw that you said you liked them too. It creates a really nice, is it 6 spokes?
I've not done a hat.
Yeah, really nice.
I've not done a hat which
I think it looks really pretty.
And that was based on the spokes of the train wheel, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it, and I put this on this morning actually. It'll muck my hair up if I do it. But I tried this on this morning and it fits lovely. And I was going to put a pom pom on actually, wasn't I?
Yeah.
But Bryony really likes this. So again, she might get this one.
It fits lovely and it looks great on there, and I don't think you should put a pom-pom on.
Do you not?
No.
She likes pom-poms.
Yeah, I know, but I think it will stand quite proud, and that might look a bit odd.
Unless it's in the purple.
But it fit
Oh,
when
I
she
see
pulled
what
it on,
you
it
mean.
fit.
There wasn't a lot of slouch.
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
So-
But you could put a tassel on instead of a. So this is the.
I think a tassel on a hat that fits tightly like that would make you look like Tommy Cooper.
Maybe so.
Just like that.
So this is the Mon Ami Hat, and this will be, as Dan said before, this will be the 4th of my platinum patterns, and this will be the one that goes out in September.
Lovely.
So I think that's the perfect time to start knitting these lovely cosy hats.
Yes.
So this will be the September pattern.
Yes.
So yeah, lovely, and that was Drops Alaska as well.
Yes. I forgot that I could spit splice it, and I.
Oh yeah, you did, yeah.
But
you didn't.
it was fine.
It was fine. Just
Because then
wove
I
the
got to
ends in.
practice my weaving in ends.
Yeah, it was fine.
And I did a good job. I did do a good job because I followed your tutorial and I weave one the one way, one the other way, close the gap, perfection.
Yeah, it
But
works really well.
I'm merely making excuses for myself because it was annoying, to say the least. What
I think it looks lovely. I think it looks super lovely. It's quite festive actually, isn't it? And it does.
That's why I said Christmas trees.
I know, and if you look at the purple, it does look like Christmas trees, but the intention is you look at the white and see like the triangles going down. But either way, it's pretty, isn't it?
What else is off your needles?
I have got one other thing.
I know you do.
And this is really a continuation of just speaking about my platinum collection. And I finished a second pair, and this is the 3rd pattern in the collection, and this is the Dandelion socks. And I've finished another pair. I was sort of part way through knitting a second pair, and I just finished these off last week. So this is the second pair of the Dandelion socks, and I use Knit Picks Felici. Is the self-striping, and the colourway is Beyond the Wall. I didn't understand that reference, but I've since been told it's a Game of Thrones reference. I couldn't remember it for a second, but Game of Thrones, and we don't watch Game of Thrones, I don't care for the programme, but that's what the reference is apparently. And then the cuffs, heels and toes is Drops Fable. It's this lovely green, Drops Fable, and that is number 112. And I just thought it went with the blues and the greys really prettily. So that's another pair that I finished. And again, this pattern does have my umbrella toe, and it's got a short row garter stitch heel in it, which was one of my sort of, what were they called?
Knitting Horizons.
Thank you, I can never remember. One of my Knitting Horizons was to come up with a short row heel that I liked. And these socks do fit really nicely. But I do understand that short row heels aren't good for some people. So really you can take the pattern and insert whatever heel you want if you didn't want to try this particular one. But it was one of my personal goals to actually create it, and I did that, and it absolutely fits me fine, it fits Bryony fine. So from that point of view, I feel like I've succeeded. And these ones were my original pair of Dandelion socks. And these ones I knit from Nicole C. Mendes yarn, which was beautiful. Soft sock in the Little Red Riding Hood colourway. And I just used a Regia white, I think it was Regia, for the cuffs, heels and toes. So that was the other one, the other pair. So this, like I said, this pattern will be going out next week, and it's the 3rd pattern. And I just thought it would be fun to sort of recap what I've done so far. So these socks were the 1st pattern. These have been worn, as you can see. But this was the 1st pattern in the Platinum collection, and this is All Is Calm. So this went out last December. And then I did the Twister hat with the lovely fun tassel. So the Twister hat went out in March. So this was the 2nd pattern. The Dandelion socks are the 3rd pattern, and then the Mon Ami hat will be the 4th. So by the end of the year, our lovely gold and platinum patrons will have had 4 patterns. As part of their patron subscription, they've received 4 additional patterns, and I think I'm pretty certain I will carry on and do that for next year. I have been asked quite a lot whether any of these patterns will be available for purchase, and at the moment I'm keeping it exclusive to the patrons, because that was the whole point, that this is something just for them. So at the moment it is exclusive to gold and platinum patrons. So yeah, and I've really enjoyed creating those. It's been really nice to design things when I know there's a specific group of people in mind, and it's just been really fun.
Cool.
So, yeah, that's all my finished items.
Cool. Let's find out what happens when the meringue comes out of the oven. Oh my goodness. You're going to have to roll it. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
It's a bit scary.
Let's get over our fears and go find out how we finish off our summer berry meringue roulade.
Okay, so there we go. You can see it's this kind of lovely, oh, it's like a perfect wedding dress colour. I've got weddings on the brain. It's just a beautiful pale golden colour, and when you touch it, it'll feel, you know, firm to the touch. Now we need to flip that straight away onto some baking parchment. So the best method I've found is I've got a cooling rack underneath here with baking parchment on top, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on top like this and then flip it. So on top, and then grab hold of the tray underneath and flip it right side. And again, be careful because it's going to be hot. It should just come off because you oiled it. There we go. Lovely. And we need to now peel off the parchment from the meringue. So just find a corner and just loosen it all the way around, and then just gently peel it back. You might lose just a tiny little top layer of meringue, but it's nothing to worry about. Just peel it gently back. There we go. So you can see we lost a tiny little bit, but it's all fine. Now we need to leave that to go completely cold. It doesn't actually take long because we're on a rack, so we've got air going underneath and on top. It probably takes about 20 minutes or so to go completely cold. But in that time you can be chopping your fruit, and then we can be whipping our cream up as well. So we will go and do that now. I don't chop the raspberries, and the blueberries, you know, are small enough just to leave whole. I'm only chopping up the strawberries because these are quite large, lovely British strawberries. It's definitely, I would say, a summer dessert, this one. But of course you could use frozen fruits, but they do tend to go a bit mushy, I think. Soft fruits, once they've been frozen, they do lose their shape because they've got a lot of water in. So this is all my lovely fruits. The last time I made it, I just put in strawberries and raspberries and it was delicious, but Dan said, oh, a few blueberries would be lovely. So this time I'm also going to scatter in a few delicious blueberries because we do love blueberries and they're super good for you. You know, all of these red and purple fruits are excellent for you, which kind of, I think, counteracts all the sugar and the cream of the you know, the finished dessert. So there we go, that's all our fruits all chopped and ready, so we can now whip the cream. So we need 300 mils of cream. Now conveniently, this pot is 600 mils, but it's got the measurements on the side here, which is very nice of them. So rather than me putting it into a jug, I can just pour until I reach the 300. So that's 300 mils of double cream. And then the recipe doesn't call for this, but I just add in a little bit of vanilla paste or vanilla extract, whichever you want to use, but make sure it's the good stuff. It's the Madagascan one. Don't get the vanilla essence because that's just basically all alcohol. It's really unpleasant. So I'm just going to drop in just a little blob. There we go. So now we're going to whip the cream. Now, the thing with whipping cream is you don't want to over whip it. It goes very quickly. When it reaches that point of being just perfectly soft sort of soft folding cream, it will then go almost to butter, you know, if you're not careful. So go kind of steady when you feel like it's near to that sort of, just, you want it to be a soft, you know, you scoop in and you drop it and it's just like a soft blanket of cream. You don't want butter for sure. Okay, so you can see that that's lovely and soft and just billowy. If we'd have gone another sort of 30 seconds past that, it would have just been too thick. So that's our cream all ready. Okay, so this is where it can all go horribly wrong. We're going to put the cream on, we're going to put the fruit on, and then we're going to roll it. And just bear in mind, I've only done this once before and it was okay. It was all right, wasn't it? So touch wood, it goes all right. So first thing we need to do is get your cream, and we're going to spread it all over the meringue, which now is cold. You don't want it warm at all, because putting cold cream onto a warm meringue is just a disaster. So we want this lovely soft cream. It's just beautiful, and it's flecked with the vanilla. So put blobs all over first of all. This would be such a beautiful thing to serve at, you know, like a beautiful summer picnic or barbecue. Just so lovely. It's very light and summery and fresh tasting. It's just gorgeous. So now just spread it out all over. Don't worry about these little crumbly bits that come off. It's fine. There's nothing to worry. You will inevitably get that with meringue. But the inside of the meringue is beautifully soft. It's not a crunchy meringue. It's very soft inside. It's gorgeous. And now get your fruit and just scatter it over. If you've got a mixture like this, then try and get kind of, you know, get a few blueberries in all of the areas. Otherwise, some lucky person will get a slice that's just all blueberry. It just looks so pretty, doesn't it? Make sure we've got a bit of fruit in all areas. And now we need to roll it. So we're rolling from the short end this way. We're not going to, you know, don't roll from the long end that way. We want to do short end forward. Now use the baking parchment as a lever. So the first thing we need to do is get the first sort of turn to be tight so that we don't get any sort of air gaps. So what I did was I just folded that over, that first bit, quite tight. And once you've got it up a little bit, just kind of push that first fold down back on top of the fruit like that. And then that'll make sure that it's nice and tight, a nice tight roll. And then just use the baking parchment to help you. It will all crack, that's just what it's meant to do, that's part of the charm of it. And just keep going and keep going. Okay, and you want to end up with this join on the bottom. So you'll probably just have to do a bit of manoeuvring. There we go, I can feel that that join now is on the bottom, so I'm just going to turn it around. It's mammoth, isn't it? Isn't it wonderfully huge? And then get a plate ready. And we're going to kind of just tip it that way and pull it over onto the plate. There we go. One slightly different thing I did to the recipe is in the recipe, just before you put the meringue in the oven, it's a Mary Berry recipe, she scatters over the top flaked almonds. I haven't done that as just a personal preference, but if you do that, then all of this outside will be covered in flaked almonds at this point. So that's entirely up to you whether you do that or not. But then I'm just going to add a little flourish of icing sugar snow on top. And we are done.
Okay, so are we ready to try this? I am absolutely more than ready to try this. And this actually is going to be my birthday cake this year. Look how lucky am I. You can, if you wanted to, make like a fruit coulis to pour on top. I don't find that it really needs anything else, but if you wanted to sort of, you know, zhuzh it up even more, you could make a little fruit coulis just to pour on top. But here we go, I've got a bit of everything. Oh my goodness, the meringue is slightly chewy. You know, it's that beautiful meringue where it's soft but then a little bit of chew, and the fruit is gorgeous. My favourite fruit in it actually is the raspberry, because raspberries aren't as sweet, are they, as say strawberries, and I think it kind of cuts through that sweetness. It's absolutely amazing. I really encourage you to give this a go. It's the perfect time of year for making this now. We all seem to be having a very warm May, certainly in the hemisphere of the world where we are. So it's just absolutely perfect and completely perfect for a wedding. You know, we had some of this when it was the royal wedding. I was watching it and I was having a piece, and it just felt so festive, you know, in a summery kind of way. It's absolutely fabulous. So there we go. That is, in my case, it's mixed fruit meringue roulade, and it's fantastic. And we will see you next time for more Pudding Club. I'm going to go and eat the rest of this now.
So that's the Roulade Berry Summer Meringue Cake Pudding.
I think the name's changed every time we've said it. It's really funny.
Look, we have colds.
We're kind of laughing hysterically at the moment because
brains don't work.
You would have thought, wouldn't you, evolution would have reached a point where we don't get colds anymore. Why do we still get colds? What is that all about? I don't know.
I will tell you this right now.
You smell nice though today.
Good. That is the greatest thing you will ever put in your mouth. It is utterly delicious.
It is.
Go and make it.
Yeah.
My goodness. It's beyond words, to be honest, because, you know, so many people, more than you realise, suffer with tummy issues.
Yeah. IBS. I mean, I get IBS, and you've got tummy issues.
Terrible.
Since having your tummy removed and put back in.
And to find something which doesn't cause a problem is quite wonderful. It really is. But even beyond that, when you eat spotted dick, it weighs heavily on anybody.
It's so heavy.
It's perfect for a winter night where you want comfort food.
It's absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
But you know you've had it.
Yeah. This, honestly, is the greatest thing I've ever eaten. So go make it. You will enjoy it. The gold edition will be out, maybe even already. So look out for that as well. That's the special extended edition. And next episode, we've wrapped up the Pudding Club. Like any quality series, it picks up pace as you go. We've just made the greatest thing ever. It's time for us to go on the greatest new adventure ever. Oh yes. Next episode, the new adventure of the Baker Bears is back. Kay and me are going on an adventure to the border regions of England and Scotland. This was one of the most dangerous parts of the world for hundreds and hundreds of years, as it was fought over by different people. And we're going to a place where William Wallace went to, the man himself, also Robert the Bruce, so many, Edward the First, Edward the Longshanks, so many, I mean, really, anyone who was anyone throughout the history of the battles of the border wars, have been to this place, and it is just the best. So next episode, New Adventures, cranks it up a notch. And then the rest of the New Adventures series. I got excited for episode 100, and I said to Kay, I'm going to change the series order around, and I'm going to bump one episode into there that we're going to do later on. She said, no, control yourself.
Did I?
You did, and you were right. She was right. Because the series is structured in a particular way for a reason. Some of the episodes we've got coming up on New Adventures are... It's like my perfect dream adventures.
I did love the last one though, the Saltburn one.
There you go.
My mum really enjoyed it.
It's rocking. It's rocking. Well, you know, we had a great time. We did. We had a great time, you know. We may well have established that beaches are not for us. We toyed around this episode and we actually decided not to because... As we said in episode 100, the episodes are so chock full, you know, it seems wrong to try and shoehorn in something that is not part of the run of what's going on. And I said to Kay, you know, should we do a Room 101 thing where, you know, we both get the opportunity to... Because I sort of wanted to give Kay the opportunity. She wrote about it in the Knitability Issue 11, which went out last week. She wrote just the best article ever about... how she can't stand beaches. It's so funny.
It was it was meant to be humorous. It wasn't a serious.
It was humorous, and everyone took it as humorous. No.
Did they? I haven't read the feedback.
Yes.
Oh, good.
And if I was to give you the opportunity now to put something into Room 101, what would it be?
Crowded beaches.
No, it wouldn't. It would
What would
be
it be?
flip-flops.
Oh, flip-flops.
And that's what was so funny in this article. She sort of went on about how, you know, you go, and she's right. And the funny thing is, maybe one of the reasons why we're married is I feel the same. I remember on holiday, you know, we used to go to Spain, the same place every time. Young boys, you're in the sea, you're playing. Mum says, right, come on, time to leave the beach now. Come out the sea, put your flip-flops on, walk up the beach, and get spattered with boiling hot sand that then sticks to you. It's just annoying.
You're wet or you're sun creamed or...
Flip-flops are the worst footwear for beaches.
Yeah, and people wear them generally, don't they, in the summer? Not on beaches, just generally. And I don't understand them as footwear because they puzzle me greatly. And, you know, this is just a personal opinion, obviously, and, you know, don't write in kind of thing. But they don't provide any support to your feet, do they? And how do you keep them on your feet? Kind of have to grip for dear life to keep them on your feet. I just don't... they're a puzzle to me. They're a great puzzle, flip-flops. They really are.
You've got to love it.
Yeah.
Folks, it's time for the Endy Bits.
Endy Bits?
Yes.
Wow.
Now, Summer of Sorcery.
Starts today.
Rock and roll, baby.
Come on.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And I've got a couple more prizes.
Let's look at them.
Should we look at those?
I think
that
we
have been
should.
Sent in? I think I do still have a couple on the way, but I was sent some.
Someone
lovely...
also is donated a bag and they're going to send it direct.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
You haven't told me about that.
I forwarded on the information, but it's fine.
you?
It's fine. Yeah. Don't worry,
Right,
don't
I
worry.
haven't seen that. So, but I've got two things to show you at the moment. I was sent a lovely bundle of yarn from Kelly Lay at Lay Family Yarn. And she asked me if she could send something, you know, for giveaways. And I said, of course, that would be lovely. Thank you so much. She sent this massive bundle of yarn. Kelly, you're terrible. So I've got two sock sets and then a single skein of these lovely yarns. Aren't they beautiful? So there's 3 prizes there. So I'll just hold one of them up. So it's Lay Family Yarn. Lovely Kelly. This one is I can never say this. She sells seashells. So it's a lovely set.
I'm not a pheasant plucker.
Oh, don't go there. So Kelly, thank you so much. 3 beautiful prizes there. And then I also got sent a bag, and this is from Nicola. Nicola is Bumble Stitchers on Etsy, and she also has a very lovely podcast that I wasn't aware of, and I've actually been watching it this week, and it's lovely. So if you've not watched Nicola and you fancy a new podcast, then it's Bumble Stitchers. Go watch her, it's really lovely. But she sent this fantastic bag. Isn't this the prettiest thing? So it's Alice in Wonderland. That is Alice in Wonderland, isn't it? Is that Alice?
Yes.
Yes, it is Alice in Wonderland. And then the bottom is made with recycled denim jeans.
Wow.
And it's so soft and lovely. She's obviously laundered them and everything. But it's got that lovely... What?
As opposed to taking them off dirty, chopping them up, put them into bags. We were all thinking that, weren't we, folks?
No, we weren't. But you know what I mean.
Yes.
But it's the lovely, soft, worn denim. You know, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and I love this size.
Like my shorts bags.
Yeah,
that's what you want.
Yeah, that's exactly what it reminds me of.
Material like that is soft and lovely.
It really is, and it's got this gorgeous polka dot lining, and it's a brilliant size. It's a drawstring. I'm not going to pull it because I don't want to ruffle up
And of
the
course,
beautiful pressed nature of it.
there is a huge problem with clothes going into landfill.
Oh yeah, there is.
And you know, we've had articles written about this by Label in Knitability, and she's passionate about that. As are we, to be honest. You know, if you can find ways
of recycling,
what a brilliant thing to do.
Yeah, and it's a really beautifully made bag. I really love it, and you know, it's a great size. So another beautiful price. Thank you so much, Nicola. And you know, if I get any more, then I'll obviously show you those as and when.
Lovely, lovely. Anything else from you?
I just purchased one thing.
Wonderful. Let's have a look at it. Shall we look at it?
Sat by
No,
my
let's
lovely...
not. Yes, of course we will.
Oh, hello. Did you see who was sat back here?
Yes.
I can't remember his name, actually. I can't remember what Bryony called him, but
Graham.
it's the grandpa doll, as we call him. I pre-ordered this ages ago. And the best thing about pre-ordering yarn is you totally forget about it. And then when it arrives, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like a huge surprise. And you know you love it because you pre-ordered it. But this is from London House Yarns, and it's a sock set in the Grello colourway, and it's her 80/20 superwash merino nylon. So this is self-striping, and then we've got a coordinating mini, and I got it because it reminded me of Hufflepuff colours, so I got it for socks for Bryony. And you can see actually on screen that yellow has definitely got a sort of greenish tint going on, hasn't it? I love that kind of yellow that's got a little, it's sort of hinting on a sort of underlying green. I think it's really pretty. So I love those. I can't wait to knit those up. They'll be super fun. And that's the only thing I purchased really recently.
Cool. So, thank you so much for watching the beginning of our whole new era. Oh yes, today we've started off with the best pudding ever. Next episode, we have the greatest new adventure ever.
Wow.
I can't wait, to be honest, because the last time you and I went out and filmed like this was when we went to the place which is 2 minutes from this castle, when we went to the Roman city, when we went to Corbridge.
Oh, right.
Yeah, remember when we went and
I do
filmed
remember it now.
Rome's Lost City?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
literally, just
It's near there,
it's
isn't it?
just the other side of the road.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, it's so amazing to think. And, you know, this is a place we went to once, many, many years ago. And, you know, it's going to be wonderful to go in there and properly explore the story. Yes, it's got a beautiful orchard with lovely picnic tables.
I remember.
Where you can sit and just have the best picnics ever.
That was a long time ago.
It was ages and ages ago. So, you know, to get in there and really dig into the story is going to be wonderful. And I know it's a corker, so do not miss that. But next week, I'll be back on Tuesday. Well, we'll both actually be back on Tuesday with more of our Magic Loop sock knitting extravaganza. Thursday, Crumbs. You'll be back with some new stuff which we haven't even yet filmed.
No, but I've got it all.
Excellent.
ready.
Wonderful. She's prepared.
Which is a rare
My goodness.
thing, I know. But yes, I only mentioned it briefly just then, didn't I? But the Summer of Sorcery knit-along starts today.
Yes.
So get casting on.
Please join us.
Get knitting those magical projects. And I will open up an FO thread because I know some people are very quick at getting their FOs done. So I'll get that opened.
And please post Instagram pictures and tag them with hashtag BBSOS.
BBSOS Cal.
Yeah?
Yeah, BBSOS Cal. Let's
Cool.
go for that.
Yeah. So tag them with that because I'd love to see you in your sort of sorcery poses.
Have you got to pose?
Yes.
Oh. Pose like a wizard.
So long as it looks like the Summer of Sorcery. So a summary picture which has some sort of
that's a
sorcery
bit
theme.
specific, isn't it?
Well, it's not. You could just be sat with a wand doing something. No, I'm joking.
Just post
your pictures. We'd love to see your projects in progress. Oh, yes. So thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with episode 102.
Yeah.
And we'll see you then.
Who's it sitting and knitting? It's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your oven, or maybe a shawl you'll want to wear. So sit yourself right down and